And a very happy Monday to you at 12:08 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, just minutes ago, California Attorney General Rob Bonta announced that he is suing the Trump administration over calling the National Guard over the L.A. riots. And Rob Bonta did it the most Bonta way.
We're going to stand up for our rights. We're going to stand up for our freedoms. We're going to stand up for the rule of law. We're going to defend our democracy. We're going to defend the Constitution.
How about you defend the streets?
No, he can't do that. That's not an option, so just take that right off the table.
How about we defend the cop cars from getting rocks thrown at them from bridges?
Nope, can't do that either.
We defend the police officers from getting fireworks shot at their faces?
Nope, not an option. How about taking dong money? Is that an option?
Oh, he's good at that. He's real good at that.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. All right. I have flirted with this idea for a long time, but I was never 100% of the way there. Because politicians fib, politicians stretch the truth, politicians like to overinflate their sense of importance. Frequently, they're what you would regard as a BSer if you just do them in your own personal life. But generally speaking, that's the range of where they are. Gavin Newsom is a sociopath. And by that, I mean the clinical sense. I mean, Gavin Newsom could take a lie detector test, tell you that he was the one that kidnapped the Lindbergh baby, and pass. Because he is that kind of sociopath. That guy has ice water in his veins, and the only thing he cares about is getting elected president, and he's willing to kill each and every one of us to get there. And that side of Gavin Newsom's personality was on full display this weekend. As rioting was going on in Los Angeles, started out in Paramount, downtown LA, we all saw it. It was on the local news. It was on social media. Let's face it, it was unavoidable. And as we're looking at all of these police cars having blocks of cement hurled at them, and police officers having fireworks shot at them, and rocks thrown at them, and Molotov cocktails thrown at them, and police cars being lit on fire, and buildings being tagged, and everything that we saw happening all weekend long, he goes on TV and goes, everything's fine. There's nothing to see here. We have everything under control. And then, like clockwork, all of the minions, including the mayor, who is so far out to lunch, I don't even think she's thinking for herself. I think she's just parroting whatever it is that Gavin and others are saying. And they just mimic the sociopath. And all you heard from these members of Congress and officials at the city level and everywhere else all weekend long was, oh, no. There's nothing bad going on here. It's very peaceful. Peaceful protests. Very, very, very peaceful. Everyone's exercising their First Amendment right. We got this under control. LAPD is doing a bang-up job, and all is fine in Los Angeles. And anyone who says otherwise is spreading misinformation. They are trying to create conflict where it doesn't exist. And frequently, they would be saying that in one screen, or one box on your screen, and then in another box on your screen, you see something on fire. Or you see a freeway being shut down. Or you see police officers hiding under an overpass because there's an angry mob out to get them. Or you see federal agents being locked in a building with an angry mob outside the building. And when you're watching these images, on the left side of the screen, it's Newsom and company saying none of it's happening. And you say to yourself, am I in an episode of The Twilight Zone? Do they not realize that on the left side of what I'm looking at right now, it's directly contradicting what they're saying?
It's mostly peaceful, John.
Oh, yeah. Don't believe your lying eyes. Your eyes are creating propaganda. So stop it. Stop looking at the right side of your screen and just open up your ears and listen to the left side of your screen.
That Waymo's not on fire.
No. And if it is on fire, it's because they just don't make the batteries like they used to. And it reminded me of everything that we deal with and talk about on this program on a daily basis. The bullet train. The bullet train is a smashing success. It's one of the greatest projects we've ever done in the state of California. You just don't have to think about it like a train. Just think about it like a jobs program. And anyone who says the bullet train isn't a smashing success is spreading misinformation. How about crime? Well, yes, your Rite Aid closed, and the one that you have to shop at now across town has the shampoo behind bulletproof glass. But don't believe your lying eyes. If you were smart enough to understand statistics, you would know that crime is actually going down. So stop believing your eyes and listen to me. Same thing with homelessness. Well, the town may look like it's never been dirtier, and there's encampments all over the place, and you're sitting in the dark because they're stealing electricity and copper wire. But stop believing your lying eyes. Our projects are actually working. And if you had two brain cells to rub together, you would understand that. But you're dumb and we're not, so believe us. It's just rinse and repeat over and over and over again, where they try to make you think that you're crazy because they take something that's not only true, but obviously true to anyone paying attention, and they try to make you think you're the crazy person. So all of this was going on. Trump said that he was going to send the National Guard in for reinforcement because the LAPD did not have it under control. They then accused him of trying to be the one to up the ante and create chaos and to create violence. And then the police chief went on television last night and killed their narrative. Let's listen to the police chief.
Here is Jim McDonnell last night in a press conference that he called when he was asked about the violence.
This violence that I've seen is disgusting. It's escalated now since the beginning of this incident. What we saw the first night was bad. What we've seen subsequent to that is getting increasingly worse and more violent. Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you. And we have adapted our tactics to be able to have a chance to be able to take these people into custody and to be able to hold them accountable. We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers, to throw at cars, and throw at other people. We've seen people with hammers, and you've broadcasted, breaking the bollards behind the federal building and taking the rocks, if you will, or pieces of concrete, and throwing them at officers. We've had liquid of who knows what description thrown at officers. There's no limit to what they're doing to our officers.
That doesn't sound like a situation that we had under control.
In one press conference, he just killed their entire narrative. He is a dead man walking. What he just did there was the same thing that the fire chief did after the fires, when she acknowledged that Mayor Bass's budget cuts limited their ability to respond to the fires. When she broke bad on the fires, from that point forward, the fix was in. She was done. You remember the day that happened, Randy, and I went on this program and said that woman is going to get fired?
You did say that.
This police chief is going to get fired.
For telling the truth.
Yes. You get in much more trouble with the truth than you do with the lie. Because the police chief, with all of the authority that comes with that office, and a guy who's been around the block a few times, he's not someone who's new. He's not someone who is dependent on the mayor for his self-worth. This is the last job he's going to take, and then he's going to retire. We had him on the program not long ago, and that's basically what he said. This is it. So why should he go out there and light his credibility on fire for some politician? That's not what he did. He went out and told the truth. And after he went out and told the truth, which, by the way, is not some revelation, of course it's violent, and anyone with two eyes should be able to figure that out.
How many times do they have to shut down the freeway and start throwing rocks at cars before we realize this is unacceptable?
But here in the insane asylum, when he broke bad and acknowledged reality, that was damaging to them. Damaging, because now all of a sudden they have to go against the police chief, which is what Maxine Waters is doing. She's calling him a liar, and she's saying there was no violence that took place anywhere, and this police chief must be mistaken. That's what she said. And Judy Chu, oh no, the LAPD has everything under control. Anyone who says otherwise is just not telling the truth. So they're sticking with it. And what I think they'll eventually do is, if it gets to the point to where, and I don't know what that would take at this point because you're shutting down freeways, for heaven's sake. What they'll do is they'll, I guess, just transition to blaming everything on Trump, like they did with the fires and the bullet train and everything else. But who's buying that? And I'll tell you this. In politics, narratives matter. And framing matters. You could take one bad incident and it doesn't impact every politician the same way. Let's take a sex scandal. If Bill Clinton gets hit with a sex scandal, that's totally within the character of the person we know. He's Slick Willie. He likes the ladies. Is he going to slip up from time to time? That's exactly what you would expect. So if he gets caught diddling the help, that's not a career ender for him because that's within the confines of the character of Bill Clinton. But if Mike Pence gets caught screwing a secretary, his career is over because his entire career is based on being a moral person, being religious, being faithful to his wife, family man, father, husband, grandfather, the whole thing. And if that guy is playing around on the side, then everything you know about him is a lie. So that's unbelievably damaging to his career. Look at what you saw on the streets of LA. What is it that the open borders crowd tells us? That people come to this country because they want to play by the rules. They want to work hard and pay taxes. They want to assimilate. They're proud to be American. They're red, right, white, and blue. That's the storyline. That's what we're told. What did you see on TV all weekend? Give us what we want or we will burn your town down, and we're going to fly the Mexican flag while we're doing it, and we're going to wear masks, and we're going to show up every single night until you cry uncle. That goes against the entire narrative of what they've been selling us. Here in the insane asylum, it might work. What do you think the people in Iowa are thinking when they're watching their televisions? What do you think the people in Tallahassee are thinking as they're watching their televisions?
I'll tell you what they're thinking. This city's going to host the Olympics?
They think we're nuts, and we are for putting up with this. You see, here in the insane asylum, we just got used to it. But everywhere else, they're horrified. They can't believe that this is going on. They can't believe that people are willing to do that in a town that they claim they care about. They can't believe the people in charge are allowing it to happen. And they can't believe the people in charge are lying about it as it's going on live television. If you think for 1 second this is going to create any sympathy for those people out on the streets, you're nuts. It's over for them. Immigration was always Trump's strongest issue. I was looking at CNN today showing that ever since all the chaos started, those numbers are skewing even more in his favor. But Gavin Newsom doesn't care. He recognizes that too. From his point of view, everything that's going on right now will help him recover from the podcast where he had Charlie Kirk and Michael Savage and Steve Bannon and all those guys because he thought the Democratic Party was moving to the right, which it's not. And because of that, his credibility was damaged with the left wing of the Democratic Party. Well, you're going to need them if you're going to win the Democratic primary. So now he's recalibrating and he wants to be the anti-Trump warrior. And he's using this issue to do it. Well, fine, you'll get lots of press, your name will be in the paper, and you can position yourself as the foil to Donald Trump. It's not because you care about those people, because guess what? They're in much worse shape today than they were when all this started. But Newsom doesn't care, because sociopaths only care about themselves. And he is going to step on their skulls to try to get that Democratic Party nomination in 2028. He is disgusting. He is derelict in his duty. He is willing to let the entire town burn for his own career advancement. And he's even more pathetic than you thought he was. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you missed an episode from last week and you want to find out what you missed out on, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, including doing a Google on the YouTube.
What do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
790 KEBC welcomes George Thorgard with special guest Foghat at the Pacific Amphitheater at the OC Fair, July 18th. Tickets on sale now at packamp.com. Right now, calling number 9 at 1-888-795-2222. Gets a pair of tickets to the show and tickets included admission to the OC Fair.
Take a deep breath. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Coming up after the news at 1, it's the Fix California Hour. Boy, do we have an action-packed show for you today. Daniel Gus, editor of the Gus Report, will be here to weigh in. He has some reporting on just exactly what went on downtown, including just exactly who was rioting downtown. Some of those names may surprise you. Professor Barbara Stone from California State University at Fullerton will be here. Chuck DeVore, former assemblyman from Irvine, also a former member of the California National Guard. He was in the National Guard when the LA riots took place back in the 1990s. Has an interesting perspective on all of that. And Bobby Chacon also joins us, retired FBI special agent and former member of the FBI's Joint Terror Task Force. He'll be here the 2 o'clock hour as well. But right now, it is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is a former member of the L.A. City Council and former LAPD Sergeant, Councilman Dennis Zine. Welcome.
Thank you, John. Pleasure to be with you.
So yesterday and the day before, we saw the city burn, where police officers were being attacked. Chunks of concrete were being thrown at LAPD, black and white, CHP officers, federal law enforcement as well. We saw horses get attacked, police horses. We saw fireworks shot at the cops. We saw Molotov cocktails fired at the cops. We saw all of this going on, really with the cops being overwhelmed just about in every instance. And politician after politician, from Gavin Newsom to Kamala Harris to Karen Bass and everyone in between, went on TV and talked about how much of a peaceful protest it was. And it's not true that things are violent. The LAPD has everything under control. Anyone who says otherwise is trying to make it worse. And it's peaceful, and that's the end of it. And don't believe your lying eyes, because what we're telling you is true, that everything that's going on is peaceful and under control. Your thoughts?
Well, they must have been in another world with those comments because I was monitoring this situation, and I still serve with the LAPD, and my son's with the LAPD, and I'm very aware since I joined the police department in 1968, and I've been serving with them ever since. I know what happens when you don't have the resources, and people try to gloss over and make it sound like everything's fine, no problem, a little quiet demonstration. They have a cause, they're demonstrating, and it's great, and we'll come back tomorrow and everything will be fine. Well, if you went downtown today, it's not fine. They got businesses that have been broken into. They got CHP cars that have been vandalized and burned, along with the rental cars that were called to the scene, people injured. We had a situation that was out of control. The LAPD, and I keep talking about the numbers of LAPD, we are now down to 8,746. That's everyone from the chief to the recruit in the academy. In 2019, we had 10,072. So obviously, we've dropped in number of personnel. And what the officers do, like normally Saturday's a busy day, Sunday's a quiet day, they weren't at maximum deployment. So what they do is then take units from the different divisions throughout the city. Every division has to send units down there. And now they're strapped in the field for calls for service, so they've been redeployed. They're at the command post trying to quell this situation. They take over the freeway, they vandalize, they assault officers. We don't have sufficient resources. Finally, they call in the sheriff's department, who then calls in mutual aid. And the President of the United States decides, you know what, things are out of control. I'm going to do what I need to do as President of this country, while the governor sat on his hands, did nothing as far as calling in resources. And everybody wants to make a glossy, oh, it's okay, just a little demonstration. This was what I've seen in the past. I was there for the previous riots in Los Angeles. I've seen buildings burn. No fire department responded because they didn't have any units available. In this case, we saw those vehicles burned and no fire units responded. They're now ashes. So when we talk about reality, you could see on TV that reality was a situation out of control. Lack of resources, lack of personnel, and my heart goes out to these officers who are on the skirmish lines trying to quell, and those horses, the cavalry that came in, the mounted unit, they were there to try, along with the Metro and the patrol officers that were deployed. We had a skeletal force throughout the city while everyone's deployed there, and now they want to point the finger back and forth between the president and the governor. The bottom line, folks, you're taxpayers, you're not getting your tax due when it comes to services, public safety in the city of Los Angeles, as reflected by this. And then I remind people, we've got the World Cup. We've got the Olympics. Thousands and thousands of people are going to converge upon Los Angeles. I worked the '84 Olympics. I know what it's like when you have to deploy for all the athletes and the protection and the details. So I've been there to see it. Clearly, we were understaffed. We are understaffed by 8746, clearly. And the department needs to boost the numbers. It's not happening. Meanwhile, the taxpayers suffer. And then they see chaos taking place, say, oh, my God, what's happening? Well, when the sheriff has to call in mutual aid, which I heard he called in mutual aid, it's a little too late. But we have the governor condemning the president and saying, I'm going to sue and this and that and the other. They lose focus of the responsibility, what they're appointed there for. They're there to make this a safe place. And I want to emphasize that the Los Angeles Police Department and all departments in California are restricted by law from enforcing immigration laws. We do not enforce immigration. You can go commit a robbery, you can commit drunk driving, etc. We don't care about immigration. That is not a focus of the responsibility of law enforcement in the state of California. It's a law in the state of California. So when people want to talk about immigration, law enforcement in California does not deal with that. And this all centered around immigration. So the chaos took place, and we've seen this happen before. We've been through other riots. It doesn't leave a positive mark on the city of the Angels. The Angels flee the city when this takes place, and people are fearful. And when you saw a freeway shut down because the hooligans take over the freeway, they block traffic, they assault the officers, then they torch the cars. At what point do we say we've lost control? We lost control way before the National Guard showed up, and we need resources to reestablish order. Today, we find businesses have been broken into. Now, the old days, we'd bring in jail buses, we'd arrest people, but just pushing them from one corner to another is not solving the problem. That is not going to terminate the activity that's taken place. All it would do is spread. You're spreading it. you're not stopping it. You only stop it by arresting people and incarcerating them and let them go through the criminal justice system. So I'm just livid when I hear about people saying this was no big deal. It's a huge deal. Your downtown metropolitan area has been destroyed because of the activity that was illegally taking place with the lack of resources of law enforcement to handle it, period.
When the fires took place, the city's response was budget cuts to the fire department had nothing to do with the city's response to those fires. That's what Bass said. That's what her allies on the council said. That was the company line. And everyone repeated it, just like over the weekend, everyone repeated that these protests were peaceful and there was no violence going on. And then the fire chief went on TV and said that's not true. Those budget cuts definitely impacted our ability to respond to those fires. We didn't have the trucks that we needed. We didn't have the mechanics. We didn't have the staffing. The budget cuts were absolutely critical to our ability to respond to these fires. And the moment she said that, that woman was a dead woman walking, and they got rid of her. Last night on television, the police chief of the LAPD, Chief McDonnell, went on TV and destroyed the company line, destroyed the narrative, said, no, they were violent. They were violent yesterday. It got worse today. We are overwhelmed. They're shooting fireworks at us. They're attacking our horses. They're using potentially lethal force against our officers. We're overwhelmed and we need reinforcements. Do you believe that the fix will be in on him the same way it was for the fire chief because he broke bad and went against their narrative?
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. I know the officers look for a chief of police that's going to be supportive, that's going to tell the truth, and I think this chief needs to speak out more than he does because of the situation, the crisis we're in. We're in a public safety crisis here in the city. And when you mentioned the fire department, I saw the photos of the fire trucks, the apparatus that was sitting at the yard waiting to get fixed, but there's no one to fix them, and they didn't have the parts. So clearly, it was a beautiful, sunny, bright day. Everything's fine. But when the wind comes, when the firestorm begins, you need to have those resources available. So we did not have adequate resources. As we saw yesterday, they did not make a number of arrests. They made a token number of arrests. But many of those people that they were shooing from one corner to another, they should have brought in their buses and made mass arrests. And then you quell the situation. You put it to rest because this will continue until some aggressive action takes place, whether it's the local police, the sheriff, the highway patrol, the National Guard, United States Marines standing by. But it's pathetic that the city of Los Angeles needs to call on the United States military, the National Guard, the Marines to come save the city. That's ridiculous. Where are our elected officials that should be out there supporting law and order? Again, this is not about immigration. This is about public safety. Since the police department does not enforce immigration laws, whatever the feds do, they do. That doesn't fall back on local law enforcement to do anything when it comes to immigration. So they want to wave the flag. But there was a lot of tragedy that took place. I don't think it's over yet. And I know that with mutual aid, which then we strip other departments from their personnel to back us up, that's uncalled for because we don't have the resources. But then again, I keep on thinking, I worked the 84 Olympics. I know how many resources. I know how much personnel you need. I know the resources and the equipment. We don't have that. How are we going to prepare for that when we don't have enough personnel to handle radio calls on a daily basis throughout the city of Los Angeles? It's really a sad situation. And I look at some of those council members who want to disarm the police. They don't want police having weapons. You've got some city council members in Los Angeles that are totally out of touch with reality. And sadly, they have no idea what law enforcement's about. And I question if they ever want to ride along to see what it is when you're in a black and white doing stuff. They don't want people to be stopped. They don't want people to be cited. You've got a city council, not all of them, but a growing number that don't want the police to be effective in enforcement of the law. Look at MacArthur Park. It's a disaster, but that council member doesn't want the police involved because that particular council member doesn't like the police. That's what Los Angeles has become.
Former Los Angeles City Councilman Dennis Zine, thank you so much for stopping by on this very busy Monday.
Thank you. My pleasure.
It's the John Phillips Show. And right now it's my pleasure to welcome tax attorney Steve Moskowitz to the program. Hey, Steve, what should you do if you have unfiled tax returns?
Call us. It's a real common situation. People just don't file for years. And the number one reason is in the first year, somebody didn't have the money to pay. So they made a mistake. They just didn't file the return. Then year two rolls around, and they say, how can they file year two when they didn't file year one. And by the way, they still don't have the money. And then it becomes a lifestyle, a criminal-like lifestyle, looking over your shoulders. Today, the day the IRS agent comes knocking on your door or cleaning out your bank account or going to your customers and saying, don't pay you, pay them. It doesn't have to be. We can talk to the IRS for you, file all the old back returns you need, make a deal for you, and then imagine this problem is off of your back and you can live a normal life again. We have a free consultation. We'll explain everything to you. If you want us to, we can do everything for you. You don't have to talk to the government. And when we're all done, you get your life back. The only thing you have to do is pick up the phone for your free consult and say, hey, Steve, take care of me.
Thanks, Steve. That's tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. If you have any questions at all about anything tax-related, including the conversation we just had, give him a call right now at 888-TAX-DEAL. That's 888-TAX-DEAL, or find him online at moskowitzllp.com. I'll tell you, Randy, one of the surprising aspects of what happened over the weekend was when Newsom and others were trying to tell people to stop rioting. They didn't say, hey, we all live here, and some of us need to use those streets, some of us need to use those buildings, some of us need to use those sidewalks. Let's not destroy it. We all paid for it. We all have a right to use it. Don't destroy it. It's against the law. If you break the law, you will go to jail. He never framed it that way. When he finally, and it took him a long time to do it, but when he finally told people to knock it off, he said, you know, if you go out there and commit acts of violence or you start destroying public property, you make Donald Trump look good. And who wants to make Donald Trump look good?
Yeah, it's not just don't throw rocks at police horses.
No. From his point of view, I guess, that's not good enough of a reason. We have to make it political somehow. And dude, you're the governor of California. Your job is not to be a candidate for president or a talking head on cable or anything else that you would prefer to be. Your job is to run the state. And if your state is under attack, your job is to defend it. And if you don't defend it, what's the point of having you there?
Well, in interviews that Gavin sat down with, whether it's with Alex Michelson or MSNBC or some of the podcasters that all got invited to the Emergency Control Center last night, Gavin's like, yeah, I have tons of experience with the National Guard. I called them in during the BLM riots in 2020. Well, are you waiting for it to get that out of control before you wanted to call the National Guard? This is the dumbest fight ever.
Well, and also, I love the fact that he's having all of his meetings from the command center for the same reason that Biden and Kamala could never go to the border. Because if your point is that the border is secure, which is what they had been saying, you can't be there and then have the images of people climbing over the wall over your shoulder. Because then that destroys your entire narrative and you look like a fool. And that will be used in every campaign ad against you. So you just can't go down there because everything that you say will be disproven immediately. If you're Newsom and you're out there saying that there's no violence, you can't be on the streets of downtown L.A. because if there's a squad car on fire over your shoulder, that's a horrible look. So I guess from his point of view, conducting interviews from the command center where he's dressed like he's in charge and he's around a bunch of computer screens and a bunch of people in uniforms, it makes him look better. But shouldn't he have been on the streets? Couldn't do it, though. You can't argue with a picture story. If the pictures are there of the rioting taking place, you can't go on TV saying, this right behind me, this isn't happening. Don't look over there. Look over there. Oh, wait, there's a car on fire over there, too. You know what? Just shut your eyes and listen to me and stop looking at the picture. Can't do that.